There's an old saying that I remember hearing a lot growing up. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. A lot of wise, very intelligent people follow these words of wisdom, and it serves them well. But I, unfortunately, am an idiot. At least I was 20 years ago. Although I hope some of my stupidity has worn off as time has passed, and my hair has started to turn gray and fall out. So you may be wondering what I'm going on about. Unless you read the title of the video, in which case you probably know what I'm going on about. Yeah, that's right, it's Everquest story time again, and today I want to talk about the time I got scammed for all of my platinum in Everquest and learned a valuable lesson. Now, to tell this story, we have to travel back in time to most likely the first half of 2003. I made a forum post at the time detailing the scam. I tried to go back and look for the post I made, but that forum is long gone from what I can tell. So, at the time, I was living in my parents' attic with a good friend who also played EQ. At the time, we were fairly casual players due to both being in college, so our playtime was limited. Thinking back, this may have actually been a bit of a turning point for me when it comes to EQ, but I'll get into that more later. So one day, my friend and I were playing, and I saw a warrior holding the split blade of destruction, and I decided that I had to have it. They were selling for something like 100,000 or 150,000 platinum at the time, and that was a significant cost for someone who was not playing a lot. I might have had a tenth of that at the time. I sent my friend a link of the item and declared that I would have one in my hand by the end of the month. He laughed at me and said, "Yeah, sure you will." Neither of us really had any idea how to make that much platinum. We mostly just ran around doing random stuff, enjoying the EQ world. Naturally, there was no way I was just going to sit back and let my friend be right. I was on a mission now. Now, for context, I need to point out just how cool this sword was at the time. This was back before cosmetic augment slots. The weapon you see was the weapon that person was wearing, and this one had such a unique look. It had this super cool split blade design with lots of flare and pointy bits. It just looked like a beast on warriors at the time, and I dreamed of looking that cool. And on top of that, the stats weren't bad either. And possibly one of the most important factors, it was tradable, so you didn't have to be in a raiding guild to get one. So I needed to make some money. I hung out in the bazaar trying to figure out what people were paying for and made a list of stuff I could farm. I spent every spare minute I could manage outside of school and work farming stuff to sell on the bazaar. I sold trade skill mats, I farmed rare spawns for drops that would sell, I killed mobs that dropped high coin and vendor trash. I did it all, and my platinum kept going up and up. The end of the month got closer, and I was up over 100,000 platinum. I reminded my friend that I was going to prove him wrong. He naturally was confused and didn't even remember the interaction that I had been obsessing over for weeks. But that didn't matter anymore. I was going to prove him wrong and get this sword that I didn't even know existed prior to the start of my quest, but I now wanted more than anything. I started keeping a very close eye on auction chat. Maybe I would find a good deal. 100,000 was not that far off of the 125 or so that I had seen it go for at times in the past. From time to time, I would even announce in /auction that I was looking to buy a split blade of destruction for 100k. Then someone messaged me. He offered the blade in trade for an item I hadn't heard of. Said it was a rare drop he needed for a quest. I checked my bags in my bank, and I didn't have the item laying around, so I responded and said I didn't have one, but would he take 100k for the sword? He said no thanks. So naturally, the obvious next step in my mind was to check the bazaar for this rare item. Maybe he hadn't thought to look there. Like I said, I was an idiot 20 years ago. So I checked the bazaar, and I'm sure this will come as a surprise to precisely no one watching this video, but much to the surprise of early 20s me, there was one single item on the bazaar matching my search, and it was posted for 90,000 platinum. Holy crap, I thought to myself. This is perfect. I can buy this random item, trade it for the sword, and still have lots of money left over. I need to hurry though. What if the guy looking for this item sees that one is for sale for less than the price of the item he's trading for it? I have to beat him to this deal. If I don't buy it right now, I'll still likely have to farm another 25,000 platinum to get the sword at market value. I ran to the person selling the item, the whole way feeling so proud of myself for finding this amazing deal. I was the king of Everquest. Nothing could stop me when I put my mind to something. I got to the trader, I opened it up, and there it was. The only item he was selling. Red flag? I was young and on top of the world. I didn't know what a red flag was. Now, in my defense, I did have a brief flash of doubt. That brief instant of hesitation when you're just about to spend all of your hard-earned currency in one place. But I had been working for this. I knew I wanted this. So I clicked buy. So then, I tried to message the guy that was looking for the item. He was not online. Maybe he was just zoning. He was online just a minute ago. So I waited. And tried again. Still offline. I felt a little knot of worry form in my stomach. I searched the name of the trader I'd just bought the random item from, and they were offline as well. At this point, my young, naive brain was starting to piece the scenario together. I tabbed out of the game and went to good old faithful Alakazam, the website that contained all of the important information for Everquest. And I typed in the name of this rare, valuable item that I had just paid 90,000 platinum for. Aviac Feather. Now, let me talk about the Aviac Feather for a moment, and why this was a perfect item to take advantage of an unsuspecting idiot with. It was somewhat rare, so there were not any others in the bazaar at the time, and it was rare enough that I did not have one. But it was not valuable, at least not to the scale that I had paid for it. It was used in the research recipe for the level 16 mage air pet. This information confirmed in my head what had happened. Someone saw me looking to buy a big-ticket item, offering under market value, so I was unlikely to have anyone actually sell me one. They offered that item, an item that they surely didn't even have, as a trade for an item that they just happened to have on another account, which they promptly listed on the bazaar for suspiciously close to what I was looking to spend. It was a perfect plan. All they needed was for me to be dumb enough to fall for it. And luckily for them, I was. I was gutted by this. All my hard work was gone, and I was back to a little less platinum than what I had started with, and had nothing to show for it but a little feather. I couldn't bring myself to admit that I'd been scammed to my friend, who wasn't paying enough attention to what was going on to realize or even care anyways. But after a few days, I decided to go share my story on the Inneruk server forum as a cautionary tale to anyone who this person may try and scam in the future. I got a mixed bag of responses ranging from, "I'm so sorry that happened to you," to "Thanks for the heads up," to "Are you stupid or something? Of course that was a scam." And of course one person even said those words that I had known for a long time but for some reason never pop into my head when they're really needed. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I said back at the start of this video that this was somewhat of a turning point for me with EQ. This experience did not end well for me. I ended up empty-handed, but it did change the way I looked at the game and how I played it. And not for the negative, as you may think. For starters, I kept the feather. I put it in my bank, and it stayed there for a long time. I paid good money for it, and I wasn't going to turn around and just vendor it for 5 copper. It was a trophy, a reminder not only to think before I act, but also a reminder that I can accomplish anything in this game if I put my mind to it and put in the effort. I stopped playing so casually after that. I still wanted to improve my main character, so I joined a guild and started raiding, completing almost all of the Planes of Power expansion with them. I completed my epic quest, I used some of what I learned making platinum and got into trade skilling and maxed out all of my trade skills. As a warrior, with very low int and wisdom, I started getting a lot more out of the game. I made connections with people in various guilds that I was in and even met some of them in person at get-togethers. Making this video and reliving this story kind of make me wonder if I didn't try to get this item and end up getting scammed out of it, would the game have just faded away for me? It's impossible to really know, but I'm going to choose to see the silver lining. Well, thanks for watching the story about how I got myself scammed. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment. Interactions like that really help small YouTube channels like this grow. If you think this story was dumb and that I'm an idiot for falling for it, please let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you next time.